welcome everybody. This is the first episode of the Ouroboros Express Dev Vlogs. We'll think of a better name at some point, I'm sure, but thank you so much for joining us. I'm Najma. You can call me Naj. I am directing this game, but I'm just such a small part of an amazingly big, talented team, and one of them is here with me today. Hello, Kyle.
Hello.
Well, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Kyle Smith-Laird. I was one of the writers on the Ouroboros Express. I had the pleasure of working on Asha, the avatar of Asha, which was a great experience.
Yes, and she is definitely a force to reckon with, certainly for our main character, Vivi. But yes, I thought, us being here, I thought we could just have a little chat about the original Ouroboros Express because at this point in time, we are at the beginning stages of patching the game. And really, we should have done this earlier, but seeing as we made the game in 30 days for a game jam, nobody had time. Nobody had
Yeah.
time. So I guess we'll treat this like a bit of a retrospective, basically. But yeah, I mean, well, I guess first things first, how do we know each other?
But what a good question. We were both in the same class, the narrative department, taught by
Mm-hmm.
Susan O'Colland, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, we were in the same cohort, blue cohort, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I was in Team Pinky, and you were in Team
Yeah,
Stinky.
yeah, we were in
Stinky.
the fall.
Oh,
Team
Clyde was
Stinky.
not used.
Yeah, so we were effectively in the same cohort but like different groups, I guess, so whatever you may call it. But because at the time I was teaching a, s- a boot camp, I guess a digital marketing boot camp, it always clashed with my own cohorts or my own group. So I ended up basically intruding upon your groups, and that's that's how we kind of know each other. Yeah, intruding. And then we worked on Santa's Secret together. Or were you on Santa's Secret actually thinking about it?
I wasn't part of like the writing team, the original, but on the patch, like I got involved.
You got involved. Amazing. Yes. So for full context, we as part of Small Loon Studio, along with a bunch of our other friends, which you'll see in future episodes, we made our first visual novel together, which was indeed the very first game I've ever made, Santa Secrets. And then a few months later, and it's crazy to think that it was only in March actually that we did it. We embarked on the Ouroboros Express together. Wow.
It's quite a rise.
It has been quite right, and it's only August, but it feels like eons ago now, and I'm not entirely sure why. But a lot has happened since then. But yeah, I mean, Kyle, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about. I mean, was it your first game that you've ever been a
It was the first game I'd ever been a part of, and I have to
Mhm.
tell you, I felt very, very nervous when I was given such a huge responsibility to do like one of the romanceable non-player characters. I kind of wondered and thought, like, do they really know who I who am I? But
Who
luckily,
is
like,
he?
luckily I had someone to help me. Dylan Sands was like my
Mhm.
writing partner, and
Mhm.
it helped me to have somebody else to like bounce ideas off of, and we worked really well together. We had a great synergy, and it was a really great collaboration.
Mhm.
He added things that were just so great, like he made her a royal plural, which was just so fitting for who she was.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, he brought a whole lot to her, and it was great working with him. Like we lived down like in the same city, so it was
Oh,
beautiful.
lovely. Yeah, I mean, you guys work so well as a team, and I think if there's one takeaway from the original team of Oryx is that definitely getting writers to buddy up is such a great move because writing in isolation is not fun. It really
Not
isn't.
ideal.
No, it's not. And having someone to bounce ideas off and, you know, basically like compliment you in that way is just so incredible, and I really saw it like across all the teams that we had. So we had um our lovely friends who I hope will join us for future episodes of for Darius. We had Cam Daxon and Tiago. We had for Susura we had Logan and Patrick. For Ushu we actually had two people. They kind of buddied up, but they sort of wrote different things, which was really interesting as well. We had Gideon and Zach. So and not to mention our incredible editing team who joined us as well. Off the top of my head, I'm definitely forgetting people because our team was just that expansive. But Lisa, Haley, I think definitely like Rachel helped
Megan,
with QA, Megan.
let's
Yeah,
not
we
forget
had
Sal.
Sal being our narrative lead as well. Yes, and we worked very closely together. Seeing as it was a visual novel, so yeah, we had so. Dear listeners, you can probably hear we had lots of people in the writing team, and yet somehow it didn't seem like enough at some points as well. When we were going through the process, we just like, how are we going to do all this work? But
My
yeah, I mean, I
question,
loved it. Yeah, I'd love
my
to hear
question
from
was,
you as well.
yeah, GDC, like remember that
Oh
in
my
the middle of
goodness.
everything?
Oh, yeah, I mean, okay, so for those of you out there who are planning a game jam, don't do it when half your team is out at like a major event like GDC. I mean, come on, but it was kind of like really wholesome because a lot of you were, meeting up in real life for the first time at GDC as well, which was really cute. What was that like? Was it because like I imagine you were working virtually with a lot of the people and then meeting them for the first time at GDC.
I didn't go to GDC.
Oh, you didn't go to GDC?
Dylan went to GDC.
Dylan, yes, of course, Dylan went
Abandoned
to
me with
GDC.
Asha.
But Asha was in very good hands as well. So, dear Asha, well, I mean, as you're here, do you want to tell us a little bit about Asha and who she is?
Um, sure. I don't want to give too many spoilers away
Okay,
because I don't want to ruin the journey of like her discovery.
yeah.
But the basic summary is that she was a woman chosen to represent her people, her
Mm-hmm.
planet, and the goddess of that planet, who was Asha, a sun goddess, as it was like a hot desert planet.
Mm-hmm.
So, and her job was to go and represent all of her people, which is why she used the royal plural of we.
Mm-hmm.
And her tagline of the all is the one, referring to
Mm-hmm.
like everything is the one, it's Asha, and
Mm-hmm.
luckily it gets to be me. So, and I think that arrogance like seeped into her personality a little bit. She
Sure.
comes, yeah, she comes across as haughty and like arrogant at times,
Mm-hmm.
which she should, with that kind of power, that it'll corrupt you in some way. So I think that's how like that power corrupted her.
Yeah.
Bibby was a really good foil for her to like show her like you shouldn't be doing this. Like in a way, like Bibby's reflective like nature allowed Asha
Yes.
to see herself for who she really was, and she was. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think she was happy with it. She apologizes and she
Mm-hmm.
grows, which was great.
Yeah. Being able to see a character grow and I think in total, well, every time I've played the game it's been about 2 hours. Like if I'm playing I get pretty much at pace. I think you could go a lot slower if you really wanted to. But it's so nice to see the growth in the characters over 2 hours of gameplay, and I think you guys did that so well, and it was really wonderful. Was it hard for you to think about the character arc in like a relatively short amount of time?
Honestly, no, it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't, and
Mm-hmm.
that is due to you because you laid out the skeleton for us, and it was very, very clear, like what we were doing. We were
Mm-hmm.
given activities to work around. So all we really had to do was like put the organs in and put the flesh on, because the
Mm-hmm.
skeleton is really the hardest part. It has to be there first for the
Mm-hmm.
the framework has to be there for everything else to be put on and inside. So
Yeah.
because you set that up for us, like it really did flow. It was much, much easier to shape everything because we knew where everything was going to go. You can
Oh.
only put the heart so many places.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, I mean, there's only so many places that you can have a peak. You can't have emotional peaks all throughout. That's kind of exhausting. And I think it's really wonderful how you guys were able to add some levity into the game too, which is really nice. Obviously, we're going to try and avoid spoilers as much as possible, so do not worry if you haven't played the game yet. But yeah, I think what's interesting is I was speaking to someone about the actual, I guess, the logistics of working with so many writers and then having to plan effectively for them to be able to write and fill things in. And I think the metaphor that we came upon, which I think is really nice, is that you guys are having fun in the way that it's sort of a theme park because there's guardrails, you're having fun, but like it's within the constraints of the space, essentially. So I think, yeah, setting up like having structure and having that framework really really helped, and it's really informed how I work with narrative design in other projects as well. I mean, how about you? I would love to hear, what were the big things that you learned while on Oryx, the
Um,
Ouroboros Express?
what did I learned what otome meant, first of all.
Oh,
Was
yes. Yeah.
very,
What
very
is this?
impressed. I was
Otome,
able to
yeah.
impress my Japanese neighbor. She was like, "Oh, you know what that means?" I was like, "Yes, it means girl." Very impressed. So I learned like how a visual novel was made. I learned like the coding for Ren'Py.
Mm,
Micah sold it to us. Micah was the programming lead for the Ouroboros Express. She sold it to us, I think,
amazing.
as like a pseudo code. And then
Hmm.
when Tiago, who's our narrative lead now, was like showing us like yesterday the GitHub thing, I looked at it, I
Hmm.
was like, that's not pseudo code, that's real code.
Yeah, you guys were basically writing in code, but we were like, hee hee, you know, they'll never know.
That's bait and switch ever.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I have to say the engine that we worked in, which is Ren'Py or Ren'Py, it's a really good beginner's engine for any narrative designer because it's simplified enough that you can write in and you can kind of think about things and branching narratives and all that. Um, but there's still a little bit of friction there because at the end of the day, you're still writing in an unfamiliar language a little bit here and there. But like it made sense. So for anybody who hasn't, written in that code before, what it basically looks like is like character name and then face expression or whatever expression, and then the dialogue for each line. And that's the dialogue essentially, and obviously there's like different bits of logic and stuff when it comes to the menu and things, but it's pretty simple. So if you're thinking about doing a bit of narrative design, definitely try your hand at making a visual novel
Yeah.
for sure.
No. I mean, I'm not a big coder. To me, coding is a language that I don't speak, and I speak plenty of other languages. But I
Hmm.
learned enough to do what I would call like survival code, like survival French, enough to like order a meal.
Yeah.
I have
I love
survival
that
code.
survival. Yeah, survival code language skills. That's incredible. Yeah, I mean, at the very least, I think what working in Ren'Py code opened up for a lot of the team. I know for me as well was an appreciation for what code looks like and what it means to write dialogue in code, as it were. But I'm curious to know actually, have you worked on other games in the time that since we last worked on Oryx?
I mean, I worked on the Santa Secret patch. I was part of the QA team
Mm-hmm. Oh
and
yes.
the marketing team, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't like work on the actual like guts of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that really counts. And right now I'm working on Project Lantern, which
Oh,
follows. I don't
Project
know
Lantern.
if we're
Yes,
allowed to
this
say
is a bit
much
of a
about it.
teaser. Yeah, a bit of a teaser. The team are working on something very exciting coming down the pipeline, so do look out for that. I'm really excited. Yeah, so at Small Loan, we've grown enough that we've got different projects going on, which is kind of crazy to think about. Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, so you mentioned marketing as well. So yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience in the marketing team?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun joining the
Mm-hmm.
marketing team. I was a little anxious at first, like I felt like when I joined, Team Asha.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but once again, I got paired up with Dylan Sands, so I really
So
felt
you're like,
so much
oh,
better.
I'm at home. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was great. Like
Hmm.
I learned Canva to help create like digital artwork for the marketing campaign and writing short copy to go along with it to kind of promote the Santa Secret patch, which is a lot of fun.
Hmm. And you flew with Canva, I have to say. Like, it's like you got yourself parked in front of it, and then you were just making stuff, and it was incredible to see. And I love that. I kind of love seeing people do that, like all over Smallwood in different ways, like just putting them down in front of something new, and they just kind of like run away with it. It's pretty incredible. Yeah, I mean, I one of the things that I love about doing things is small loan. Yes, we're a volunteer studio, but I feel like there's a real emphasis on like real world practices or like working on our skills in a way that still makes sense in a workplace. Like I don't know, but do you agree with that? As like, has there been anything tangible that you've kind of taken away from your time at Small Learn?
Well, I mean, we are still kind of a young studio. We haven't
Mm.
even been around a year, I think.
Oh
So,
my God, no, no, we haven't. Yeah.
um, I mean, I think we're going through like a growth pains is what I maybe would call it. Like we're
Mm.
going through puberty right now, like figuring out
Yeah.
who we are, where we're going, and like
Mm-hmm.
what the hell is going on with us. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember when we first got here, we had one project going on, and now we have like a visual novel thing going on all the time, and we have
Mm-hmm.
Project Lantern, we have
Mm-hmm.
4X. Like it's really sped up and like gained speed and momentum, which is
Mm-hmm.
exciting. Um,
It is exciting, but there's so much to learn, of course, and like,
yes.
it's not without the odd team, I guess, like conflicts, which I know people like shy away from as a word, but I think it's super healthy to kind of come up against, especially in a safe space, because conflict resolution is unfortunately one of those skills that you can't practice until you actually come face to face with it. And like that's a lot. That's the case of a lot of the soft skills as well, which I think everyone has performed admirably in our game projects. Like when I think about the amount of people that was on Santa Secret, it was something like around 20, and then for the Ouroboros Express there was like 40. So there's a lot of communications that has to happen. But yeah, I mean, it's I think soft skills in game dev are so underrated. Like truly, like they are hard skills to learn, but I've really seen that the people that are really excelling and working really well just have like such a good suite of soft skills. And I definitely consider you one of them, Kyle.
Well, as a recovering middle school, like foreign language teacher, I learned a
Hmm.
lot of soft skills to deal with people who were very maybe emotionally vulnerable on a daily
Yeah.
basis.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, I'd love to. I mean, this is a perfect segue into talking about transferable skills, actually. So you mentioned this, but you speak a lot of languages. Do you want to like give a bit of a sprinkling of like what some of those languages are?
Well, as you probably know, I'm fluent in English. We'll start there.
Whoa.
Surprise. Um, I'm also fairly fluent in French. I studied there for a year at the University of Bordeaux. I go back I used to go back like every year and visit my best friend and my goddaughter who is just past her first year of college. And
Wow.
so yeah, my French is really good. When I go to France, I dream in French. So that's how I think my
Oh
French
my
is pretty good.
goodness. Yeah.
I also speak like better than survival Italian, survival
Mm-hmm.
Spanish. Um, I I know Latin. I'm not a good speaker, but I have 3 books published in Latin, so I consider my level of Latin to be adequate. And I'm currently studying High Valyrian, which is the constructed language of Game of Thrones slash House of the Dragon, for no other reason than I can just talk smack about anybody I want, and no one has any idea in the world.
It's an
Am I
incredible
not?
reason to learn any language. Yes, absolutely. Any other nerdy languages that you know?
I mean, I've studied other languages. Like I studied Scottish Gaelic, and
Oh.
Irish, which are very similar. Like they come from the same like branch on the tree.
Mm-hmm,
I,
mm-hmm.
I did a little work in Hungarian, and I found it like
Wow.
ridiculously hard.
Yeah.
Because its roots are like the same as like Finnish, and so I didn't
Wow.
recognize any of the roots, and it was really hard for me. Um, Studied a little German, just enough to like get through and to say "Ich habe alle mein Deutsch vergessen," which is I have forgotten all of my German. I think that'll be getting me through most of my time in Cologne.
Oh yes, that's
Yeah.
right. And you are setting off to Cologne soon for a game dev industry conference. Um, is that going to be like your first one that you'll be going to, like a real big games industry thing? That's
Yes.
exciting.
Yes.
We've both had that. We'll both, by the time you're gone, we'll both have had that milestone in our careers, essentially, for
We
this year.
we
Uh,
we both missed like the one in San Francisco, right?
yeah. So, yep, I went to develop in Brighton. You're shooting off to DevCom. That's incredible. Well, I want to kind of bring it back to like transferable skills though, because we're both effectively career changers. And how are you finding like your current suite of skills? How are you able to use that for our game dev projects? Have you found things to complement those skills? Things like that. I love hearing about this.
I mean, one of the big skills that I retained from like my teaching days was just listening to people and,
Mm,
asking them questions to kind of help them to like maybe come to a better conclusion or just to like get to think about something.
mm-hmm.
Just as a game developer in general, I think Jesse Schnell says like one of the best things you can do is just listen and not talk. So,
Yeah.
I took his advice very much to heart because as a teacher, you have to listen to your students and hear what they have to say so that you can give them meaningful input back. So,
Mm.
listening I felt was a good skill I took from it, as well as organization. I mean,
Mm. Oh
I knew
yeah.
teachers who weren't organized and had like a million things on their like desktop and
Mm-hmm.
like they were always running like, to go get coffee at the last minute, like with their shirt untucked. And, I was like that at the beginning, but I like wised up really quick and I got my act together. And it made my life
Yeah.
so much easier and better. And, I realized at some point, like, you don't have to do everything. You can delegate responsibility, have
Mm-hmm.
somebody else do it. And so,
Yeah.
when I saw somebody here struggling with that, I said, you don't have to do everything. You're the lead. You can tell others to
Yeah.
do your bidding,
Yes.
minions.
Yeah, that is such an important lesson to learn though, I think not just in game dev but in any situation that you're in. I was certainly a lot like that as well. I've my day job, my career, I've been a marketer for a very, very long time and I still work as a freelance marketing consultant. I like to say nowadays I like to say I'm a marketer as a day job and I'm a game dev 24/7 because genuinely I am like so passionate about it. But yeah, when I was first beginning in my career, it really felt like I was on a hamster wheel all the time, just constantly, just day to day, just trying to like make things last minute or always trying to do everything just from scratch all the time. And then I realized actually I can automate things, I can create templates, I can, like you say, delegate some things or just say no to things as well. Like that is a really I know what,
Hard.
but yeah, it's so hard. It's the hardest lesson to learn. I think is for your personal development. It's so important. But I found that yeah, organization and like just kind of I don't even want to say productivity hacks. It's more like the productivity mindset. Helps so much with game dev. I mean, certainly it helped a lot for me being producer on Santa Secret and director for the Ouroboros Express because I really felt like I had to be very structured with my time and in doing so help everyone also be structured with their time too. Now I'm not saying I was always like successful, but I think the fact that the fact that like we tried and we put an emphasis on it in small line I think is very, very important.
That is very important.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
marathon, not a sprint.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And I think with anything creative, like I think you need to always have that draft that you just kind of do, and then you need to sort of let it rest, and then come back to it and be like, some of the stuff isn't quite working, and you have to give yourself time to do that. And to give yourself time, you have to be pretty organized. So a super important thing for game dev, certainly. Yeah, I love what you said about listening as well. Like listening as a game dev, working with your team, listening as a writer. Certainly, you've been published several times now.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Um, I'll tell you, I got the letter email yesterday that one of my short stories was accepted to be published. And it was really exciting because I get an email every day from these people. It's called
Mm-hmm.
140 fiction. So your entire story has to be 140 characters, not words, characters.
Characters.
Characters, like
Okay.
spaces and anyhow. So you have like
Yeah.
140 characters to tell a
Wow.
story. And so they told me they had chosen mine, which was like, it's called Head Over Heart. It's about a person who's dealing with like a foreign language gap. Imagine this. Write about what you know, right? So,
Oh my
um,
gosh. Yeah.
but yeah, I won't. I guess I could also tell you for like every acceptance letter I get, there's at least 30 to 40 rejection letters that I just like store as like a badge of honor that like I've done my job. I've been submitting my stories and trying to find them a good home where they will be loved. And that is
Yeah.
how I treat my stories. Like I'm trying to find them the right home so they can be appreciated by the
That
audience. So
I love that. I love that. And I think sometimes stories have a context and that they are perfect for, and not every story is good in like every context. So they really shouldn't be, because they should be specific and they should be, I don't know, just meaningful in the context that they're in and the home that they eventually are housed in. Wow, so that's really, I mean, that's so important. I kind of want to like highlight that as well, that for every acceptance letter you get this, like there's a whole pile of rejections, but you've just got to keep shooting your shot, honestly, for every writer, creative out there. How do you find the places to publish, to kind of shoot for when putting your stories out there?
well, I do have a submittable account, which was free.
Mm-hmm.
I have a Duosuma account, which was also free, but I decided to like pay $5 a month to
Mm-hmm.
like get a little extra. And I also submit through IAWPE. They send me a daily email of like writing jobs every day. So
Oh,
then I
okay.
got published by Haunted MTL. They're going to be publishing something in a like an anthology of short stories, and all the proceeds go to help humanitarian aid in Ukraine, so like the Red Cross. So that was
Amazing.
I was really happy about that one.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, we definitely have to link to these wherever we post this. But yeah, that's so cool. I love that. And you just really seem to like love your craft as well, which is something I love like observing about you, that you just love doing what you do. There's something so nice about just watching people like engage in their passion, and I think that's why Smallwood is kind of a nice place to be around as well. It does really feel like everyone's pursuing their little passion.
Having fun and like making friends along the way. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's something very special that I haven't found anywhere else.
Yeah, it's really nice. I mean, also with the, I mean, this is gonna have to come up, but the games industry being the way that it is now, and of course, like we have a bunch of people trying to apply for jobs, eventually like their dream jobs in the games industry, but we kind of don't have any control over that as individuals about the state of the industry. So what can we do? We still want to make great games, right? So it's kind of nice that we found this little collective that we can hone our skills, of course, but also do it in an environment where everyone pretty much likes each other, which is pretty nice.
And hunker
Yeah.
down until the games industry decides to figure out that like AI doesn't have to pay bills or rent.
No, 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 and AI cannot bring a heart and move people and immerse them in stories because ultimately we're just the universe trying to understand itself essentially. But yeah, I think I mean I don't know about you, but for me, like I've definitely been trying to push myself like into discomfort to learn new things. I know certainly you are, but like what situations throughout, working on our games projects have you felt the most uncomfortable, and how did you come out on the other side of that?
I think in every place I feel a little uncomfortable just because it's all new to me in some on
Mm-hmm.
some level. Like even the writing was like, a challenge for me because even the coding was a challenge for there's always something.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, I joined like the game design team for Project Lantern, so I
Mm-hmm.
had, a whole bunch of things to learn about
Mm-hmm.
Godot. I like started building a project in Godot, which I thought was going to be
Yeah.
terrifying, but like I found like a really good video and I'm fine. So, but yeah, like there's that initial discomfort, like, can I really do this? Like I've played enough video games, but can I really design a whole place?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, you just have to push through the fear, let it pass through like the litany of fear from Dune, just like you
Yes,
do. If you
yes,
let it, and then only out
absolutely.
remain.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like there's so much to feel uncomfortable about in game dev. I think, you know, for me, it was like entering a whole new industry. It's kind of scary because I felt like start from scratch. You know, I didn't have a lot of my old network to tap into because they're in the old places I'm in, and I'm in this new place now, being in this new body of water, this new ocean, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a bit scary and uncomfortable, but I think for me, just kind of launching myself in and just trying to do my best, um, it tends to work pretty well, I think. Like, so yeah, I think it also it really, really helps to have a great support system around you as well, like wonderful people like yourself and the other people at Small Nerd too, and all the people I've met along the way. Um, yeah, I think what's been really surprising to me, well, I guess not surprising, but like basically nearly every game dev I meet is just so welcoming and so open to sharing information. Like, have you found that?
Yeah, like I've been doing the onboarding, the one-on-one onboarding here at Smellon to welcome people to our studio because I
Mm-hmm.
realized at some point if I had to walk into a room for 120 people and make like
Oh,
casual small talk with them, I would curl
yeah.
up in a corner and like probably die.
No.
So I thought maybe a soft landing would help, because when I was a teacher, we would sometimes take the kids who had like, anxiety issues and like give them
Mm,
a place where like they didn't have to be with like the entire grade at once. Just,
yeah.
a soft landing so they could have like a person that they know, a teacher that they could go to. So, I know that like the people in Small Loan aren't children and I'm not the teacher anymore, but I want to connect with them and make them feel
Mm,
welcome. I want them to feel like they're part of the community, and I kind of want to pass them on to somebody in their discipline so that they have a contact, so they don't just get lost in the shuffle.
mm-hmm.
So I've been helped by so many of the leads in this the process. I can't even tell you. They've just been so like great and responsive and kind and giving me advice. And like I tell them, please, if there's something that needs to be corrected or fixed, do it. We're trying to spin gold out of thin air like 90% of the
Yeah,
time. So
totally.
yeah, like I don't mind comments or, change things because it's all like malleable for me.
Yeah, malleable.
Flexibility.
Yeah, oh,
Flexibility
a
is a good soft
hundred
skill.
percent, 100% flexibility is right up there. Yeah, I think
Structure of
not
flexibility.
not feeling, yeah, structure. Yeah, I mean, I think about working in a very modular way, which is like this thing doesn't work. Okay, we got this other thing over here, and if that thing doesn't work, we'll think of something. Just trust in the process. You know, like I always feel a bit like that, and I think that's just from building up that resilience of working in my prior career, I guess as well. And I imagine for you, there's a lot of having to teach kids. I think resilience has to be number one. Kids are cruel.
I like to say thank God we had summer breaks to kind of refill the well of love that we needed, which was bone dry on the last day of school. Every teacher felt it.
I
Um,
imagine so. I imagine
yeah.
so. I mean, what's so interesting is that I definitely feel like there is some kind of teacher gene because I there are some people who taught me who should not have been teachers. And there are some people I know who were meant to be teachers, even if it's not something that they pursued as a career, but just have this natural thing about them that they do want to share and teach and are so generous with their time. Um, so both my maternal grandparents were teachers. And there's a lot of like teachers in my family just in general. So I can definitely recognize like the teacher gene.
You
As I
escaped.
like no, but funnily enough, that I love like I mean I wouldn't teach kids, and bless people who have the patience and that that resource in themselves to do so. But I love teaching people. Like genuinely, it's been really. I
Uh-oh.
think that's like one of the surprise for me in working, I guess, on our game projects and being with other game devs, and that I love teaching them the information I know, and I love learning from them as well. So yeah, again, transferable skills, right? Like being able to explain a complicated thing and learn a complicated thing from someone else as well. Yeah. I mean, what are your thoughts heading into this next batch of production we're in for patching the Ouroboros Express? Anything you're looking forward to?
Uh, I am. maybe spoiling something, but we're going to be adding scenes with the non-player character interacting
Mm-hmm.
that weren't in there before. And so I'm
Mm-hmm.
really looking forward to like working with Cameron for the scene with Darius and working with Logan to like for Susura. Like
Mm-hmm.
those guys are so interesting and their styles are so much different and their
Yeah.
characters are so different. So like I
Yeah.
thought like what are we so but like I tried to find like the commonalities like Darius and Asha have the goddess
Mm-hmm.
connection,
Yeah.
and then Susura and Asha have the royalty, connection, the monarchy connection.
Yes.
So I
The
wanted
hottie
them to be like,
hotties.
yeah, I wanted them to have
Yeah.
like some
Yeah, yeah, both, yeah, commonalities and sources of conflict at the same time as well, for sure. I know that I'm definitely looking forward to hearing our characters being voiced. Have you? I know that you've had a voice in mind, but I imagine there'll be some surprises as well because I think that's kind of the wonderful thing about getting people to audition for something and hearing their interpretation of that character because they might come up with something that is totally surprising to us as a team, but actually fits in a really weird, wonderful way.
um,
But yeah, yeah,
I considered auditioning, but honestly, I kind of feel like I'm maxed out on the things that I'm doing, and I don't want to do a
you're
bunch.
doing so many. You're doing so many things to be fair, and honestly, props to you for recognizing that.
There's the saying no part that it really I don't want to say no, but I know I probably should.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
But yeah, you're doing such a wonderful job on. Honestly, I always feel like you're doing something, and and
that's
and it's always like I'm getting published. Oh, I'm onboarding someone. Oh, I'm writing this really wonderful piece of thing for, or working on Project Lantern, and it's so beautiful to see. I know for me, and like I'd love to hear whether this is the case for you, but I definitely feel like I was burnt out for a really long time on my old profession, and I felt that my creative well was like depleted. And then I started doing narrative design and obviously doing a bit of game design and doing game dev, and I feel like it's really bloomed again. And some things feel familiar, but also like blooming in a completely different way because I'm experiencing new things as well. How about you? How's it been? Your game dev journey?
Mine's actually been a little different. I mean, even
Hmm.
when I was teaching, I was still writing. I
Hmm.
published like two, three books in Latin to a company, like the textbook that I used because we didn't have a whole lot of stories, so I wrote more stories, and then anyhow,
Wow.
yeah. So that's how that happened. So I
Mm-hmm.
also worked with our school, our the head of school, like doing musicals, and the seventh grade didn't do one. So for like I don't know 7 or 8 years, I like wrote musicals for the seventh grade. We did since I was
Wow.
the Latin teacher, we did like the Fall of Troy, and we did like 1980s music. We did the Odyssey, and we did like
Oh my gosh.
1950s music. We had the siren singing "I Want to Hold Your Hand," which was hilarious.
So
So that was
cool.
a lot of fun. So I was writing the whole time. Like I've never stopped writing. I've always been writing.
Mm-hmm.
But it was always like, the fun hobby that I had on the side that didn't pay
Mm-hmm.
the bills.
Mm-hmm.
So when I left teaching, I decided to really take the hobby and make it like I knew I was happy doing it, and I knew that was where I should go.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and so yeah, like the ring says, nothing without danger. Nil sine pericolo. You have to take the leap sometimes, and of course, I've
Yeah.
leapt into an empty pool, which would be the game industry. No water in it right now.
Doing it on hard mode. Hey, but listen, like you are. I mean, the growth from where we were at the even at the beginning of the year, I feel like is incredible to see, and you have a body of work that you are, like I feel like not a lot of people starting out in game dev like actually have. I feel like we've kind of been able to create a shortcut for ourselves in learning and having completed projects because that's the thing, everyone can have like an idea or like a half finished project here and there, but I think one thing I'm really proud of is that we have like you know two, maybe three upcoming completed projects that people in Smolin can be proud of and talk about. So I don't know, I think as difficult as it is now for a lot of people, I think we're on the right path.
Yes.
But yeah, but that being said, though, we're gonna wrap up because I know that I could sit here and waffle all day, and I know you've probably got stuff to be getting on to. But well, yeah, I mean, the Ouroboros Express. Hey, we'll keep recording this weekly or fortnightly. We'll check in. You guys watching can hear directly from us what we've been working on. I hope that for anybody who hasn't made a game before, this gives you a little bit of insight on what it's like to work with a team of nerds like we are. Um, but yeah, Kyle, thank you so much for joining me on this fairly impromptu episode of the Ouroboros Express devlog. Do you want to tell people where they can find you? Anything that you'd love to plug? Anything that you'd love to show off? Please go ahead.
You can find me at kylesmithlaird.com. They have an original name, is all I can say.
It's super easy to find you on LinkedIn as well. And yes, we'll put all the links wherever this goes. But yeah, thank you again, Kyle. And thank you so much for joining us on the Ouroboros Express. Bye bye for now.
See you on board.